your article inside the ISOM paper, because we have very much concerns for the young people using mobile phone. So in your conclusions, I read that there might be a risk of cognitive dysfunctions, which is the state of the art of the studies.
Well, I'm working in the electromagnetic biology laboratory in Athens University, head of which is my professor Lucas Margaritis. We are doing research on electromagnetic field effects emitted from mobile phones, wireless DECT phones, as well as other sources as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, a microwave oven, and baby monitor, baby surveillance. Until now, we have done research on mice, on insects, and recently on lizards and rabbits. We have found effects on mice specifically, on their spatial memory. They had, in our experiments that we used the Morris water maze, I will show it later in my presentation, we concluded that mice that had only been exposed to a cell phone radiation for just 4 days, 2 hours per day, they showed deficits in learning information, more specifically here to find a platform in the water and then to remember where the platform was. And we saw some deficits also in their spatial memory, in the consolidation and retrieval of the information that they have learned. In this task is controlled by the hippocampus, so we may have deficits in the hippocampal area in a histological level, but we have to check it in our next steps. This was one part of our work, and we have done also work with mobile phone and wireless DECT base, and we saw again deficits in the recognition memory. The recognition memory is if a person can remember and distinguish some things that has seen before. The spatial memory is to remember where you have been. For example, I have been in a conference some years ago, and a person that was in a restaurant and had a Wi-Fi next to it couldn't remember how he came from another place, for example, how to remember the way to go back, because there was an electromagnetic field radiation close to him. In our article that we have written with Professor Margaritis in the ISIMS monograph, we gather all the research that has been done so far on cognitive function. There are many reports that this kind of radiation, the microwaves, affect spatial memory, reference memory, working memory by distinguished scientists. Among them is Professor Lai from the United States, Leif Salford and Greta Nibby for Lund, Sweden, Narayanan, and other studies that they have shown deficits. Of course, there's the other side. There are also studies that show no effect. So the field is still open, and more research has to be done in order to find the real conditions that provoke an effect or not. We are persuaded that there is a problem, so we have to follow the precautionary principle, especially for people that are sensitive, as are pregnant women, children, that their brain is still in construction, and people that are occupied with electromagnetic fields in their work, and electro-hypersensitive people that they have many symptoms as headaches, fatigue, sleep disturbance, memory deficit.
So do you think that this condition is a physical condition? Because you know that the official position of the World Health Organization says that it may be probably psychological condition.
Well, my personal opinion, and which is in agreement with other science as well, is that the mobile phones, the wireless phones, and all these sources provoke some problems, but if its impact is strong or not, it may be related to each person, to the characteristics that each person has. But in a last article in the Seleton resolution that we wrote with Professor Ule Johansson, Lucas Margaritis, in this age from the United States, Elihu Richter and Yuri Grigoriev from Russia, and Darren's others, we concluded that the safety limits have to be reduced and the government should be convinced, because there is still research that shows effect. We don't have to wait until we have all people with brain tumors, for example. We don't say to ban the technology, the wireless technology, it's in our life, but we have to be careful and use all these devices in a correct way, to keep a safe distance, to use a hands-free or a Bluetooth, to use, for example, some cases that they protect us for the mobile phones, and ban advertisement, for example, to children, that they are for the more the users that will have the long time
Of exposure, yes.
exposure.
Is it possible that these changes on the brain can produce any kind of addiction, the exposure to mobile phones? Because I was particularly interested in some studies that were telling that the more heavy users were less affected on the cognitive consequences to the exposure.
To adapt themselves,
Yes,
you mean?
yes.
Well, this field is open. We have seen, for example, in our results that we had a stress effect with an increase in the corticosteroid levels, that mice, for example, seem to adapt after some time. But you cannot say for sure, because the organism is a system that has many functions. We can see maybe an adaptation to one function and others to be affected. We cannot say that for sure. I couldn't. There is research that has to be done, and I believe that since there are many effects, we have to be very careful.
I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.